before we begin this video content that you're about to watch, let me go ahead and say I want to make an apology. The quality of the content is going to be blurry and not great as far as pixelized is concerned. And the reason why it's going to look blurry and crappy is because, long story short, my phone decided to update itself, and there's this weird bug that seems to have happened, and it only seems to be affecting this game in particular. But I didn't know exactly what it was, but now that I know the bug and I know what I'm looking out for, moving forward, you should not see this stuff ever happening again. But because I recorded this, not knowing of the bug, and the fact that I don't want to redo it again, audio-wise, I've decided to release it as is. So, this video introduction is just an apology of the video you're going to watch is not going to be the best as far as quality is concerned. But again, it's mostly just audio anyways, and visual is just second nature. But again, I just want to explain it so that way if you're looking at it and kind of going like, why is this so fuzzy? Is my internet acting up? It's like, no, it's not acting up. It's just my end. That's my problem. So now you know. So your whole video is not screwy. It's not the quality of the content that went blurry. It's just how it was recorded. The best way to describe it is that the video decided, instead of recording it normally with the whole widescreen thing, it recorded like this. And you see a picture of this. So yeah, this is how it looked. So in order for it to make it better, I have to zoom it in on the pesh there. So basically, it screwed it up. It made it smaller for no particular reason. So yeah, I'm kind of not happy about that. So now you know. Sorry about that. But with that in mind, let's jump into the again, not really the gameplay, but my overall review for this whole series. This is just what a great way to end the year, huh? Christmas feels like the very first Christmas to me. I'm sorry. Yeah, no, I'm still reminded of that, unfortunately, due to certain things. But hello, welcome to the last video of 2022, because we're going into 2023, a much bigger year to be precise. And this video is going to be interesting because, unfortunately, unlike say 2020 with the best of, that year was interesting because it had a lot of events to go to, about 12 updates in total. I mean, well, actually 11, but I digress. But not only that, but we had other stuff too. And unfortunately, this year, we don't have much of that. Well, that and 2021. In fact, 2021 was the year of the hiatus year, or the year of rest, of nothing, the year that the game could have been dead. And this year is the year of resurrection, in the sense that the game came back from the dead. And hopefully, next year, we have a lot more content. At least maybe 6 updates, but we have to wait and see exactly what comes up in next. But it's still going. But anyways, why don't we talk about the updates that I've released and give you my views of what I thought was the best and worst of certain things. It's going to be short because there's 4 parts to each one. You know, there's only 4 major updates as far as, spooky stuff goes, and then there's what do you call it, another event type thing. Well, I should talk about it then. There is one update that came out previously in the beginning of the year, the last update, the last official update, so I might as well go ahead and talk about it and unlock them at the same time, and that is about the vampire breath with Count Nightwing. This guy is somewhat interesting because of the introduction of what they brought with him. Like, they finally unlocked his mansion, which is great because we actually got to see the vampires and all that stuff. But the one thing with this guy that makes it interesting is that this is like the last kind of hurrah character. He's kind of close to, if not anything like Curly in a sense. which is interesting because they gave him a lot of cool items and drops and stuff. Like even they give him the old lady in the attic, which is him and Curly is the only ones who's able to do that. And the spawn is not that bad. Although the only thing about it is that it's a bit of a grind to get everything because of how the length of it. Like, after we found out what exactly was going on, it makes sense. But still, it's that much more. It's interesting too that they've made the character the way he is, making him more of a rock and roller, and a good guy as well. So it just makes it a little bit more interesting with the theming of everything. But I digress. It's interesting nonetheless that they got this stuff here. But I figured I might as well make a mention of it because technically we won't be able to talk and rank him because he's separate from everything else. He's a permanent content and probably the last and only permanent content we'll ever get in this game, because moving forward is this probably going to be like events and whatnot, like how they've done their other games, which isn't a bad thing. I mean, at least we got a closure with Nightwing in a sense. Maybe not to the same extent as what we thought before, but still, we got it nonetheless. Right, so let's go ahead and talk about some of the interesting things as well as the, the more less popular to the more interesting to the big overall theming. So why don't we go ahead and do that then and talk about each one individually and then go ahead and talk about theme-wise. So I do apologize, this is still during the holidays, so we're going to be busy with some stuff here. I'm doing it off to the side, but I digress. I care for you guys with video content. But, anywho, with that being said, let's go ahead and talk about this update. Well, not really this update, but you know what I'm trying to say. The whole overall spooky time of the year, the reviews, what do I think of everything. So, why don't we go ahead and talk about the more less exciting thing, which is the prizes. So what are my thoughts of prizes overall? We got 4 in total. We have 4 events we're going to be taking a look at. The Halloween one of 2021, the only event that came out in 2021. And then we had 3 updates moving forward. So why don't we talk about what my the least favorites to the number 1. Because I tend to go for 3s, but because there's only 4 updates, we're going to only do the 4. So why don't we go to my least favorite prize we got. And in this case, for me, it's this right here, the Graveyard Gift Shop. Now, the reason why I'm putting this low as it is because compared to everything else, this one's not the most exciting prize to get, especially with the fact that every 12 hours, which is roughly half a day, we get 20 scares. Unlike the other prizes that give us a lot more, and especially the pass, this is the big grandiose. You would think that maybe this will give off more stuff, but no, it doesn't. This for comparison's sake, this one, premium, so it drops more. But again, you would think that they would give you more effort, but I'm gonna blame it at the fact that this guy is new and he has to look at the other way, the ways that the other people done prizes and stuff like that, but I digress. But anyways, there's that, and more or less things of this nature interesting with what they kind of play here. But sorry, I'm not looking at the thing here. I do like the idea of it, but I feel like it could have been something even cooler. But it's what it is. It makes sense for what it's supposed to be, but yeah, I digress. So, what's the third favorite, or, third least favorite, I guess you would call it? Well, surprisingly, it's going to be this thing here, the Wonderland prize. And again, the only reason the Wonderland is as popular as it is because this for every 3 hours, or at least every 2.5 hours, it gives you 80 scares. Which is a lot more than the other one. So that's what I'm saying. You have to look at the past and kind of improve from that. Had that not been the case, this would probably be my least favorite prize. But that's just to be expected. So, again, as far as prize stuff goes, this was probably the least favorite one to get. And I do like it. I mean, it's cool looking with the whole candy themed and everything like that. But for some reason, it just doesn't give the wow factor, like the, ooh, this is spooky, right? It's just, you know, interesting. It makes sense with the candy theme that we got for the Halloween event, but again, I digress. It's just not really there. So my second favorite prize was the first one we got for this year, which is this guy right here, the Egg Cartron Sculptor. The reason why I love this one is not only because it does a little bit more scares, the drops, but I love the fact that they paid homage to the cover art for the book and actually made this into a thing where the cover art is basically the prize in a sense, and it actually looks cool as far as the decoration goes. It really does fit the theming, and I really don't care that, you know, it's this big, weird looking sculpture. It works. I like it. I love it. And it's just one of those interesting things that it kind of, you know, you look at it and you immediately know what this is from and go, egg monsters, right? And that's one of the things. So what's my final, what's the one that, okay, let's be honest. You know which one is going to be my favorite one out of them all. Yes, it's the Slappy birthday present Slappy statue. And one of the reasons why I love this thing is not only because, again, it pays homage to a cover that we'll never get to use, which is that of Slappy Birthday to You. And it actually looks kind of cool with the fact. But the one reason why I love it is that this is the only prize that actually drops currency. Now, mind you, every 24 hours it drops you one. But hey, it drops you something, which is a lot, which is saying a lot, because this is the only prize as of right now that actually does this. So I could not just not make this my number one pick. I think a lot of people would say the same thing as far as things go. I mean, it's one of those interesting kind of mechanics type of deal, right? But that's just me, and that's my overall thoughts as far as prize stuff goes. So yeah, pretty much explanatory, but nothing nonetheless. It's what it is. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and now talk about scenes. There were 4 scenes. We got a hold of them, and we're going to be talking about which my favorites and which my worst. So let's go to the worst one. It's right over here. The Anniversary Mayhem. Now, the reason why I decided to put the Anniversary Mayhem as the worst one, in my opinion, is actually for a few reasons. Number one, the monsters themselves are nothing really to write home about. I do like the idea of the cake monster in the books because, again, it's interesting. But one of the other reasons why I was not a fan of this thing here is because once this came back as permanent content, the prices for these books and stuff is not really worth the price, in my opinion. Just everything about it just seemed weird, right? It just, for my own sake, I just didn't like the idea that this stuff is just, you know, it does, I don't know. It just seemed weird to me with the whole, again, I love the idea, right? I get it. The Goosebump books make sense because, again, this is based on the book stuff, and then I guess a cake monster because, again, birthday cakes and all that type of stuff. Can't really do presents because presents already been a thing. But I don't know. It just, I guess this the whole fact that the prize that it kind of came back for, like, for the amount that it did, felt like weird to me, especially with the whole cost and everything like that. And then, you know, it's just something about it. Just compared to everything else that got released, this is like my least favorite, if that makes sense. So yeah. It's interesting to have them spawn. It's nice that we actually have this cake and stays behind. But I don't know. It's just, I wasn't too excited with it. I get it, but at the same time, it's just kind of like, you know, my least favorite as far as spawn stuff goes. So, my third favorite or slash third worst in some opinions. I guess let me just go ahead and click on some of the scares that I forgot to click. Because Lord knows people are going to be kind of talking about it. Fortunately, I'm glad this update didn't change anything as far as, you know, for my own sake for this. So we don't have this coming into the game as of yet. It might once the event, this new update comes live next year. I'm not 100% sure about this, but this is just my opinion. You probably already figured it out yet, but yeah, my third is going to be that of the animal center cages. Now, the reason why I say this is because I actually thought this was interesting as far as the concept goes. Like, you got, creepy animals, species, and monsters. The actual cage itself looks kind of cool and themed wise. It makes sense because it fits with the whole Horrorland themed as far as like, certain creatures and stuff goes. But the only downside to this whole thing that I have to say is the fact that it in some cases it doesn't feel like Horrorland. Again, it's hard to explain. I get what it is, right? Because Horrorland's supposed to be like, oh, there's like weird monster pets that kind of goes into Horrorland, so it makes sense, right? But usually when you think of Horrorland, you think of horrors, right? Let's be honest. It's like the thing. It's like, well, we got horrors already. And it's like, yes, we know. And yes, and speaking of which, there's Jonathan Schindler himself. But it's just one of those things that just kind of makes you just kind of go, huh. It's better than the cake monster and the stuff because at least it's interesting animations and there's like 3 creatures coming around here. So it makes it unique and stand out. It's just one of those, it just didn't feel right, if that makes sense. It just kind of felt weird to me as far as the theming stuff goes, but that's just my opinion here or there. Anywho, got those spawns out of the way. I'm glad that still stayed and I'm able to spawn it after the event end because it helped illustrate the point here, because before I was like, oh, how am I going to do this? But fortunately, the developers came through for me, so that made it unique for me because I get to show you the spawns compared to last time where I wasn't able to do so because, limitations and whatnot. So my second favorite spawn scene for this year is actually that was from 2021. And I'm of course talking about the Wonder Factory. If it can load in. I hate how this loads in so slowly. It's just so convoluted. Alright, there we go. The Wonder Factory. Now before I do that, let me unlock her out and about. But yes, the Wonder Factory. So what made this interesting is that this was the first ever scene that we actually got to be able to put down. First off, and it makes sense why, because of what happened, but I digress. What makes this more unique is that, not only do we have some sort of golem monster candy thing, that it fits with the whole candy themed, but this is the first time we actually got to see Marty, Eric, Dustin, and Lucy be spawn monsters. So the first time ever we got these kids to actually be scary monsters, and, I actually do like the designs they kind of gave them. Although we don't get to see much of Dustin as far as like in the story goes, we actually do get to see the other characters at least. And I do like the fact that we finally got Monster Marty's form after the whole Monster Skate thing. I'm glad that we actually get to see what Monster Marty looks like in game. So, it's no longer was just an NPC image. Now it's actually real life that we actually get to see what it looks like. Although, they made it work for what it is. I thought it would be bigger, according to the way everything was supposed to look. But yeah, it's just one of those things. But the other reason why this is my second favorite, though, is because one of the characters used is that, and I'll talk about her later on. But she was exclusive to a bundle, so unfortunately, in order to get this, you would have to, buy a bundle. And yeah, the actual Wonder thing itself, you can actually get on your own without having to buy a bundle. But the problem is, it costs a whole lot. And the other thing too is that you needed this in order to actually get the grand prize, because it's the only thing that drops the full moon fever potions and stuff like that. So that's the other unfortunate thing there. I'm gonna have Miss Eakins kind of stay around here. Hopefully I won't forget her. But yes, so you probably figured out what my favorite scene was for this year. And that's the Egg Boys. Yes, the Martian meteorite. I don't know what it is, but the fact that we got to put these spawn scenes here, and, it's just something about them I just love. Just look at them. Look how adorable they are. Look at this. Even the one true egg monster, And I love the spawn scenes and stuff like that. And you know, one of the things about them is that they're slow when it comes to like their spawn, like their scares, compared to the other monsters, which kind of takes like a second or so, and then they continue on their scaring. These guys take like a few seconds, like maybe about five seconds roughly. Yeah, more than 5 seconds, like almost like 6 to 7 seconds for a scare, which is actually something I've been using for this year anyways. I've been using these guys to scare new characters because of the fact that they scare the way they do. This allows them to stay within the same area, so I'm able to scare the same person a bunch of times, which actually makes it very unique and actually helps out as far as the scare stuff goes. So I'm going to be using these guys a lot when it comes to next year, when it comes to new characters, to see if they actually have any scare animations, you know. But again, I love these little Egberts. They're a little bit they're great. I especially love the fact that Playboy Vampire made one canon to Susie to own, which is Nagi. I think is what he calls it. You know, whatever. But yeah, the Martian meteorite, I think, is one of my favorite scenes of this year, just because of the whole characters that were introduced to it, the fact that it was cheap to get, and it's just a fun little stuff to kind of spawn, in my opinion. So yeah, it's just my overall things. Right, okay, so now let's talk about characters and together and what I felt was the worst and best ones. So let's go ahead and talk about worst one that came out was Miss Eakins. Now, don't get me wrong with Miss Eakins. I love the fact that this was designed by persons in the community's sketch, because he drew a lot of different characters in his style, and they decided to make it fit with Miss Eakins, which it fits well with her as far as being a whimsical character goes, as far as like, oh, a candy aficionado to make the Willy Wonka kind of inspiration, right? Which makes sense. But the reason why I put her so low on the list is because of obvious reasons. She was only exclusive to a bundle, which I'm never really a fan of with stuff like that. Had she be not that case and not exclusive to a bundle, I probably put her a little bit higher, because she's also the only character that actually does give you maps, which probably is one of the most useless of the 3 items to get, right? Astrolabes, the compasses, the maps. Honestly, those were like the maps is probably like the least of the things I need, but the fact she drops one of the 3 treasures is unique. But again, because she was exclusive to a bundle, I have to put her low on the list. I wish that wasn't the case, but that's just how I honestly feel. She's a good character nonetheless, but as far as the other characters go, she's my least favorite in that kind of consent. Now then, let's see if I can find the third favorite / third worst character. Let's see if I'm able to spot them around here. I'm hopeful that I can see them, but there's a good chance that I might not, because I'm just that. Oh, I thought I spotted them, but no, I did not. This character is not as an obvious pop in as, say, something else, as another character. Ah, there he is. Mr. Dr. Gray himself, the man with 2 weird mustaches. And you can probably see why I kind of like him the least. It's not the fact that I don't like him as a character, but I feel like because he was... The update he was released in didn't flesh him out a whole lot. And as far as... Like, I love his design. I love the animations he kind of go on, the little background elements, stuff there. But I feel like as far as everything else is concerned, this character just kind of feels eh. As far as things go, and that's sad, because again, it's one of those things where I kind of did dig the whole update. It's just a shame that everything about it just kind of feels lacking, if that makes sense. But again, it's probably due to the fact that the character was updated in the way he was, with a very test kind of update, so that probably is part of the fault. But I feel like also, it's just the character himself just feels like he needs more fleshed out, right? And not only that, but he kind of blends into the other weirdo doctors we got. Like, we got Dr. Brownstein, who looks almost exactly like this guy. And yeah, they try to make him different, but I feel like we need a little bit more character development for him in order for him to kind of stand out in the town. As of right now, he's just kind of another scientist type character in the town, which is unfortunate because, again, I do like his design. I do like the story he kind of came in and everything about it. It's just, I don't know. It just feels like he could have been a lot more better, but he's not. Compared to everyone else that got released, he's just kind of like, eh. Again, if Ekans was not the update, like, if she wasn't exclusive to a bundle, he would probably be my worst favorite, and she would probably be taking his place. But again, that's the only thing he got out of the way. He was free to buy for money, so I'll give him that. But the other characters were also available for money too, so he's not really exclusive in that regard. So, again, he's a little bit better than, say, Rachel, as far as free characters that got put in and, has more animations. But still, it's kind of like one of those, it could have been better. But my second favorite character, now this might be a surprise to some people, because you would think that this would have been my first, but I'll explain why my other first pick was actually something else. And my second favorite character got added in here is Eric Affabee himself. Yes, the so-called creator of Goosebumps as a whole. I love this guy as far as his animation's concerned. You can tell the development team had real fun with this, especially the one particular video of R.L. Stine as a happy guy. But again, this is such a nod to Goosebumps. The fact that, it's a love letter, if anything else. And the way they got this character into the game, the way they did, was like chef's kiss perfect. The way they were able to get around this. Because, like I told originally when this update Horrific Anniversary came up, R.L. Stine was planned to come into the game, but legal reasons, they couldn't. So they ended up going around this and making a character that is a nod to R.L. Stine. And a lot of people look at it and go, oh, I know who this is. But we don't flat out say it's him. That's the workaround. So again, and I love the fact that he's bigger. He's big as life. Like, bigger than life. That he's bigger than his creations. And he's spooky and creepy looking. And everything about him, I just feel like this is perfect. As far as like a god character is concerned with HorrorTown, I think he's the perfect fit. He looks spooky enough that fits in well. He kind of has that mysterious look to him. Kind of reminds me of Lemony Snicket when the series on Unfortunate Events was a thing. Like, originally was like, ooh, you don't know who this guy is, right? I feel like this is kind of the same bit. And I love the fact that he used one of R.L. Stine's pen names, Eric Affabee, as this guy's character stuff. And, yeah, I just feel like they did a really good job with this. And he would have been my favorite if it wasn't for this last person that got put into the game. And you probably already know who it is now because, again, once you go through all the other updates, it's like, oh, well, obviously it's this person here, right? And of course, but let's see if I can find her because that is the main question. Can I find the girl, the woman, the miss of the hour? If I can find her, but I don't know if I can because it's just so many characters. I don't want to go ahead and do that. Oh, wait, never mind. I did find her. There she is, Lizzie Morris. Now, it's interesting why I decided to choose Lizzie Morris as my favorite character. And you might be thinking, why? I mean, sure, she's she's a well-known character within the Goosebumps lore. She's one of the more popular, because, she came from Horrorland, which is, like, one of the well-known series in the books. I mean, it was so popular, they ended up making a book series based off Horrorland. But why her specifically? She didn't really stand out as much. She's no Eric Affabee, right? But there's one reason why I decided to pick on her, and that's because of that. The double animations. She's the only character, as far as things are concerned, that she's able to do this, that she has animations go alongside other characters. This was something that was planned to be in the game for so long, but was dropped and never attempted again, except for this update with this character, and they found a way around it. And the way they did it was associating animations with buildings and have them both be put into the group. Again, they found a way. It worked out well. It's a little bit buggy, but people figured out what you had to do. So it's like, okay, it works. You have to click on the actual building they came from, not them themselves. It's weird. But the fact that she's able to kind of connect with the characters and kind of show off the fact that, like her whole shtick is that I want to save people, right? And you actually get to see that, where you actually see her interacting with people, which is a rarity. You never get to see something like this ever. So the fact that we're able to see this with her is one of the best parts about it. And this is why I say this is my favorite character that was released as far as the 2 years are concerned with this update. And yeah, I feel like a strong character, is introduced to get put into the game. Right, so now comes to my final conclusion, the best of the updates altogether. You heard my opinions on the scenes, the prizes, the characters, but what about in general? What's the overall best update as far as things are concerned? So let's go to my least favorite, the worst one in my opinion, the Halloween of 2021, or the Halloween, the Full Moon Fever update. So why is this my worst? Compared to the other ones, one of the reasons why I feel like this was the worst was partially because of the bad news that came with it at the end. But I feel like this didn't have a lot of stuff. Like, there was no real promenade thing that happened. There was no craftable areas that would work out well. They kind of reused certain things again and again. I know why the reason was. We found out why. But still, it kind of hurts this overall. The story and everything in the animations were pretty good as far as things are concerned. But I feel like, with having Ekans be locked behind a paywall, the scene being a little bit difficult to get, and just everything about it just feels bad as far as things are concerned. I don't know what it was about it. It just felt weird to me. Again, it's not my least favorite Halloween update, but I would say that it's probably one of the updates that I kind of felt about. Like, it's just something about this update just rubbed me off the wrong way, and I can't say exactly what it is, but honestly, it's one of those, it just happens. And again, it works for what it is, but it's just odd. Just like how, what's weird is the candy cane over there was just blending in and out to, like, background. That's weird. I don't know what happened there, but anyways, I was distracted by that. It was fighting with the layers. This game, man, you gotta love it. The little quirks, unfortunately. But yeah, as far as why, I'm trying to think of a good excuse for it. I guess compared to everything else, I just feel like this update just felt like it was missing a lot. And had it been a little bit more fleshed out and had, a promenade and hadn't had the character be locked behind a paywall and all that other stuff, I feel like this update would have been a little bit higher. But because of how it is, it's just one of my least favorites as far as things could go. So my third favorite / least favorite is the Egg Monsters from Mars. Now, the reason why this isn't the case is because what most people figured out, yes, it's because there was not a whole lot there. Again, this was a test update, so it made sense for what it was, but, 5 quest lines, like, really? That seems a little too short for this game, even for this game. The fact that the items we got were kind of, like, lackluster as far as, just eggs is all we get, and everything else is unique and stuff and bundles. And it just, I don't know, this whole thing just felt like the Halloween update. It felt like there needs to be more. I can't. It's like it's too small of an appetizer. You would think an appetizer would be better, but no, this one's just not. It makes you want to have more, but there's not really much there. So again, it's weird, but it's what it is. But yeah, regardless of that, that's just one of the things there that I feel. So yeah, that's basically it for this, as far as my reasonings on why this is where it is. But there you go. It's just my opinions. Right. So my second favorite / worst, I guess, is the recent one we just had, which is Return to Horrorland. Now, the reason why I'm putting this as the way it is because it had a lot of stuff there, unique characters. It's fit with the books. It kind of has a lot of new items and whatnot. I feel like, for the most part, it's pretty solid for what it was. New music also. That was somewhat interesting. This game had unique music before, but this update had it. Horrorland was that special. It deserved its own music. So, a little bit loud, but it worked for what it was. But yeah, I had fun with this update. It was interesting as far as what was added, what they did with it. Everything about this update was just like perfect as far as what you'd want in a Horrorland update. The only downside is, yes, it could have been bigger. We would have wanted it bigger because Horrorland big, right? But for what the situation we're in kind of like right now, I feel like this was a perfect, as far as content is concerned, juiciness. The story was sweet to the point. It kind of talked about what it's supposed to be. It introduced characters, despite them being NPCs. It still worked out well. And everything about it just seemed to work perfectly, in my opinion. And yeah, that's basically it. Just my whole overall things about that there. And yes, so my best update of this year was that of the horrific anniversary. Now, this wasn't based on the book, but this was a celebration to Horrorland as a whole. And the reason why I felt like this was better compared to everything else was basically Eric Affabee was introduced, and just everything in general with the theme. It's just everything about it just felt like it was good, right? You got the prize, which was unique. It was a celebration of Horrorland, HorrorTown, Goosebumps as a whole. Sorry, and it's a way of celebration in a sense, but also kind of playing fun at itself at the same time. It's weird. I just feel like everything about it just seemed like it perfectly fits, and I feel like Horrific Anniversary did a good job with kind of embracing everything with horror as well, Goosebumps as a whole, and kind of did a thing where it tried to celebrate that but making unique at the same time. And all the nods and things of like that nature, that's like, people like me are really into that type of stuff, to be like, ooh, I know that reference that they're kind of doing, this little nod, so it's somewhat unique there. So I feel like, one of the reasons why this update did so well was because, again, unique prize, got Eric Affabee, and just overall Goosebumps feeling. But yeah, pretty good as far as everything is concerned. So if you're curious, here is the little picture I made of basically talking about the best and the worst of 2021 and 2022. And I'm hopeful that the next year, 2023, we would have a little bit more stuff to talk about. Namely, I'm hoping for 6 updates instead of the 3, so we get double the quest. That would be great. But that's hopeful thinking, wishful thinking. Hopefully that is the case and we don't end up being dead again. But yeah, again, I'm looking forward to having this game be back again and hopefully celebrating its 5th anniversary, because this game has been out for that long. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing exactly what happens here. But that's my overall review. That's how I felt about this year. Again, it's not as big and grandiose as, say, my first ever 2021, but hey, I didn't expect to do this again, so I'm hopeful that we're able to get to do this for next year.
for when 2023 ends and we go to 2024 and we get to do the same thing again. That's my hope anyways, because this game needs to live on. This needs to live on because a lot of people want to see me make more content of this, and I want to make more content, but again, I need the content in order to make content. Alright? Makes sense. Alright, so that's it for me. I've been Grim. I'll be seeing you next time for whatever HorrorTown has in store for us for the new year. Until then, hope you have a scary time and hopeful good things come for 2023. That's the hope anyways.